The Mandalorian Chapter 6 is here. We've got to break it down and talk about where we think the show is going for its last two episodes of Season 1.
It's like the news, but for nerds.
What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Holy crap, Mandalorian Chapter 6. Want to talk about this and a little bit of Chapter 5, too, because I didn't get to do a review of it as I was on vacation and things were crazy. Also, I just want to let everyone know there's a lot of videos coming out in the next couple of days. There's just so much crazy Star Wars stuff happening that we have a lot of videos to do. So just make sure you're hitting like and coming back to the channel if you don't see videos popping up in your recommended. Okay, so with Mandalorian Chapter 6, my big thing was, are we going to sort of ramp it up? Are we sort of going to kickstart this thing into fourth gear? Because really, for me, episodes 4 and 5 are not only not my favorite, but they're ultimately just a little bit concerning with the way they treated the narrative, because they're really Buck Rogers sort of serialized cartoons. And look, that's fine. That kind of stuff can totally work. And it works in Rebels. It works in Clone Wars. But those seasons are like 24 episodes long. And this is only 8. You know what I mean? So for me, I was really looking at episode 6 as, like, in my mind, I'm like, it has to kickstart, right? We have to get going. We only have 3 episodes left. We got to get going. And what's crazy is ultimately the episode does not kickstart the ending. We really don't like kind of get back to business. It is kind of still another one-shot episode. And yet I still really, really liked it. And of course, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the episode, I'm about to get into some details here, talking about the good, and then we'll talk about the bad, and then we'll talk about where we think the show's going and what we want to see from the last 2 episodes. So if you haven't seen it, get on out here, come back. Or you can just leave it playing in the background muted so that we get the watch time. Okay, so let's talk about the good. First, the action. To me, the action was incredible in this episode. It's plentiful. There's plenty of action. It's really crazy, and it's really well directed. Like, again, there's a couple moments in the action that are not only just great sort of directing and cinematography, but they're ultimately great cinematically. Like, there's some creepy stuff that the Mandalorian does, and he has this vibe of literally kind of almost being like a monster. It reminded me of like episode 1 where he comes up behind the guy with the guy not knowing. There's a couple moments like that. So really spot on with the action. I absolutely loved it and thought it was brilliant. Next up for good for me about this episode is the pacing. Frankly, the pacing in this episode was amazing, because even though it's really one-shotty and this is a very tropey episode, as many of these episodes are, it's set up so properly. There's a lot of empty space at the beginning when the Mandalorian comes into the spaceport and he has this conversation with this old friend. All of it just works. Like, I even though it's very different than the episodes 1 through 3, and it has its own vibe, just like episodes 4 and 5, I really enjoyed this one better than those other 2 because of the pacing. It really takes you through it. It felt very organic. It didn't feel rushed at all. And I think actually this is the longest episode yet, which again, I'm going to have to go ahead and say that this show could use more time. They could use more time, and there's nothing rushing them whatsoever. But that's just me. I really want longer episodes. This one was close to 40 minutes, and I felt like the pacing just really was great. Number 3 on the good is the acting. The acting was incredible here. You know, it's so weird in the Star Wars universe when you've got Twi'leks or Twi'leks, and you've got crazy, horned devil-looking dudes, and you've got droids and all these weird things. Every single character is potentially too ridiculous and can take you out of it, right? I mean, this has kind of happened before. This is a lot of people's hate on Jar Jar Binks is that way, right? And so with Star Wars, because it's so wild, I almost look at every character that comes into frame and I'm like, hopefully I buy you as a character. And I'm happy to say in this episode, I literally bought every single character. Like, Burr was great. Cowboy Dave at the end in his cameo, which can be really distracting sometimes when you get celebrity cameos or cameos of people you know. He did great. All of the characters are very believable. You get the backstory between the Twi'lek and Mando. And I got to say, too, it was so funny when Bill Burr looked at Baby Yoda and was like, wait, did you two make that? I was like, yes, that's awesome. And seriously, kudos to Bill Burr. He was really good, really good. And Rick Fumayawa really utilizes Burr in a really brilliant way. I just felt like his lines and delivery really carried the pacing in some of these scenes. It was really cool. And now let's talk about the bad. I mean, frankly, the biggest glaring flaw in this episode, or the thing that I didn't really like about it, I guess is a better way to say it, is the fact that it doesn't push the macro story at all. And frankly, I'm at this place where I feel like we are so far away from episode 3. Not just because we've had 3 episodes, but because these 3 episodes feel so far away from that very tight narrative that was established in episodes 1 through 3. I absolutely love episodes 1 through 3. I think they're brilliant. But since then, it literally feels like we got some filler episodes, or we've got, like, again, this sort of Buck Rogers, very serialized thing going on where each episode is its own sort of single thing. I mean, this happens all the time in comic books too. Like the current X-Men run that Jonathan Hickman is doing is really like singular stories, single issue stories that really are like that. They're serialized. They don't tell a big flowing narrative, which again is fine. But for me, the concerning part here is that it's only 8 episodes. It's only 8 episodes. How can we do this? I don't feel like we have time for this. Again, this episode works for me way more than episodes 4 and 5, but still, that is a concern and a complaint that I have about the last 3 episodes of this show. The other thing that was slightly bothersome to me in this episode was the music. This is the first time ever that I've had any critical thoughts about Ludwig's score in the show. This was the first time that I feel like he really went away from some of the themes in the show. It was very aggressive, almost kind of hip-hop infused in some places, and it just didn't work for me as well as some of the other stuff that he had established in the prior episodes. So, is this nitpicky? Of course it's nitpicky. I'm talking about things I don't like in a show that I love. But having said that, I do have to say that this, for the first time, the music wasn't perfect, you know what I mean? Which I guess you could say is a bad thing about it. So let's talk about the show. Let's talk about where we think it's going from here, because like we've got 2 episodes left, right? We got to get to some kind of a big resolution for this season, right? I mean, one would think, right? So I do believe that the next 2 episodes will sort of harken back to the main plot line. I believe that the random person we see at the end of episode 5 is actually Grief Karga, and that there's something going on that really is more of the A plot and not all of these B plots that we've seen over the last couple of episodes, but that this will have something to do with what happened with the Mandalorian, what happened with the Bounty Hunters Guild, and the Empire. We know that Giancarlo Esposito, as an Imperial officer or high-ranking governor or Moff or something, is in the last episode or the last 2 episodes. So one would think we're going back to the A plot and we're going to finalize that in the last 2 episodes. And it's important to remember that the next episode, which I believe is directed by Deborah Chow, which is like, whoo, nice, because she did episode 3, the best episode we've got. So that's really cool. But also, this episode will be coming out on Wednesday, before the Thursday that episode 9 comes out. And so rather than come out on Friday, they wanted this episode to come out right before the Rise of Skywalker. And I assume that is to sort of tease something to get people just extra hype going into the movie. They'll probably do a little preview or something on Disney Plus for the Rise of Skywalker or something like that, hopefully. So one would think that that's because they knew they had real fire with these last 2 episodes, and that these last 2 episodes are going to be really banging. Frankly, I need more answers. I need more lore. I need some things wrapped up, but I also need a lot of questions. I want to be left in a state where I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to see season 2. One show that did this brilliantly in recent memory is actually The Boys, Amazon's original series, The Boys. It has such a good ending to the first season that I was almost pissed that we had to wait as long as we had to for The Boys, even though that will be coming out early next year, I believe. They streamlined it. But that was an incredible ending, and I want something like that. Like, I want, like, a legitimately great ending that leaves us thirsting for season 2, because we know we're getting season 2. They're actually shooting it and working on it right now, and it'll probably come out late next year. So as far as what that could be, I mean, look, we've theorized about Baby Yoda, the cloning, what the Empire is doing, what's going on with the Mandalorians. I'd like some resolution to that, and it kind of looks like Baby Yoda and the Mando are going to be paired up sort of permanently. Like, I really believe, or I thought rather, that Baby Yoda was going to just go back to his people, and they were going to resolve that, and then Mando was going to go do his thing. But maybe that will happen, but at this point, it kind of seems like they're setting the show up to be Mando and Baby Yoda, and why mess with what works? Their attitude is, let's do at least one more season with Baby Yoda, which, I mean, who's mad at that? Nobody could be mad at that. That's cool to me. But yeah, as far as my thoughts, those are my thoughts on the last 2 episodes, man. I want answers. but I want more questions. Like, what do you want out of these last 2 episodes of The Mandalorian? What do you want for season 2? Just give me your thoughts about this episode and also what you want out of the finale for season 1 of The Mandalorian. Let me know in the comment section below. Also, I just wanted to say, The Mandalorian is now the biggest TV show on the planet. It's the most searched for show. It's the most talked about show. People absolutely love this. Everyone over at Lucasfilm and Disney should be incredibly proud of what they have accomplished with The Mandalorian. It's massive. It's a big success. It's a big win for every single person that is involved. But I'm going to have to go ahead and be one of those pesky Star Wars fans on the internet and say that even though I love the show, I do want it to be better. I want it to be better, and I do have complaints about the length of the episodes, the pacing in the micro, and the pacing in the macro. So I want longer episodes, and I'm hoping that season 2 can be even better. Even though I love the show, it's a total Star Wars fan thing to do, right? To focus on the things I don't like about the things that I love. That just feels right for Star Wars fans. So maybe you're a better Star Wars fan than me, and you've got different thoughts. So let me know what you're thinking in the comments section below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.